COVID.
Pre-COVID, I could have a Google alert on the word gathering, and it was kind of recognizable. I could see, it made it was a word people use, but it wasn't everywhere. And within 2 weeks, the gatherings meaning changed. It came from it moved from a source of connection to a source of danger to a source of illegality. Like basically overnight, as we all know, over the course of kind of 2 weeks, at least in New York City, that was sort of over March. This kind of thing that I'd hitched my wagon to, right, became illegal.
Yeah.
And and I, at the time, was working on a podcast with the New York Times that was supposed to be called Gathering with Priya Parker. Like we had brides with their voice memo apps on and with phones in their wedding to get surround sound about how do you rethink a meaningful wedding.
Yeah.
And a producer called me and basically said, we have to pivot. We have to stop. This now sounds like a horror film. We just have to stop.
Right.
And I paused and I realized that even in my DMs, my emails, I was still getting questions from people, but the questions were slightly changing, and they started to become things like, how do we do this now? Right? Yeah. And do I still have my wedding? Do we still host the gala? That's 90% of our revenue for a year. Do we do this online? And what I realized, and I think this, I imagine each of you are thinking about as well, if I was stuck to the form of okay, the thing I know how to do, which is gathering, in-person gathering is now removed, and I was just desperately stuck to that, I'd basically just have to sit it out for the year, right? Or however long this lasts. But what I understood, and this is the question I asked myself, and for each of you to ask yourselves, is at the core of this, gathering is the container, right? It's the form. At the core of what it is I know how to do and what I care about, it's about creating meaningful connection despite significant obstacals. And boy, is COVID a significant obstacle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so for me, pivoting became in my kind of public work, it became helping people reimagine their classrooms and teaching, and how do you create connection between teachers and students. It became helping brides and grooms and all combinations reimagine their weddings. And as a conflict resolution facilitator, it meant facilitating group conflicts over Zoom.
Right.
And learning how to do that, and becoming better at the chat, and realizing that there's some advantages. I can now DM anyone in the room privately in a way that in a room if you pass a note to someone, everyone would see. There are some advantages, but basically starting to figure out this new way of being together.
Here's what I found to be remarkable. With less noise, with less movement, there was more beauty. On the left is a photograph that was taken, I think, in December 2019 of Mumbai, and on the right was April 2020. So when you give nature an opportunity, boy, it can do some beautiful things. I heard that flamingos were actually were walking around the streets of Dubai, of Mumbai. So I think that's pretty remarkable. So in this tidal wave, we all have adopted a personal care curve, particularly in the US. You've either got to be left or right, or you believe in blacks or whites, or whatever is going to be this whole element of truth. It's all about a personal care curve. No longer can you just sit in the middle, but that also matters for brands. And here's where it's really interesting. There's also a career curve that works like this as well. You have to either move people to the positive end of the spectrum, or they're going to go to the negative end of the spectrum. And back when we used to be in buildings in an office space, it used to be about the water cooler. Well, those days have gone, and that negative care curve is something that really needs to be worked upon, because they're the people that are most vulnerable in your organization, but the bulk of the organization are in the middle. And our job as managers is to switch them one way or the other. So that's really important to understand, that we have our own care curve and we have our career curves to worry about. Why? I just want to touch on the career curve for a second. By the time you're the age of 30, I'm told you get to 7 or 8 jobs, or as we call them, careers, which is a lot. It turns out the vast majority of people hate their job. 80% of people hate work. And in the US, 40% of people feel guilty, particularly young audiences. So people under the age of 30 feel guilty if they take a holiday. 40%. And holidays are incredibly important, as you know, to sort of reinstate the state of fuzziness. But what makes people happy in the workplace are 2 simple things: contribution and recognition. But it's also been updated with the word I've already used today: authenticity. People want their leaders to feel and be and show authenticity, because it's really important to us. And it turns out that most of us love working from home. It's just got super fuzzy and it thrust upon us super quick. And so we're still trying to figure out how that works. But we do believe we're more productive. I struggle with time management. I feel like I spend too much time working. And so the balance and work-life balance is something that I'm trying to work on particularly. So what's going on in 2021 and how's it going to help for you guys in the space of nonprofits, etc.? Well, we're at the cusp of the fourth industrial revolution. If you think about the first industrial revolution, it was all about steam. Along came electricity, here came computing, and now intelligence. So intelligence, artificial or otherwise, is the cornerstone of where we're headed. Why is that important? Well, it's been coming for about 20 years. It's just now more visible. And if we think about it, the most abused word in 2019 was disruption, particularly when we think about brands. And then along came experience, and then, of course, transformation. And that's something you need to think about. As you're transforming the way that you connect with other humans on planet Earth, what can you do to help that be the case? Because it's already happened with us very, very quickly that people can adapt incredibly well. These are a bunch of buzzwords that people like to harass me online about, or physically. AR, VR, MR, RR, adjacency, security, privacy, schemas, all these sort of things that happen in the vernacular of the speak that we use in the world of digital and marketing and connecting with people, I think is kind of rubbish. Because I got into the industry, particularly as the backbone of advertising. And I was the head of media and marketing for AOL Europe for a few years. And while I was at that gig, I ended up inventing the digital profit. It was really based about creating creativity and fun in an industry that needed it. 20 years ago, I moved to New York City from Australia. I bought that TV. And so I realized very quickly that coming from a country that had 3 TV channels to a country that had like 99 channels, that I was going to fry my brain. So the first day I moved to New York, first week I moved to New York City, I kicked that Sony TV into the hallway and gave away my TV. And the reason I did that is that I wanted a different experience. I wanted a much less noisy experience, and I wanted to feel more connected.
And I'm going to share with you a storytelling framework I wished I had learned in the 3rd grade. Now, I've been in the advertising, branding, marketing world for 35 years, and this is the single most powerful story unit that I have found to help you hack through the noise and hook the hearts of your audiences. And what I love about storytelling above and beyond regular communications and messaging and content marketing is story, when told well, about the real world impact you make on a human being. There's an optimism to it, and there's a fun to it, and there's an imagining a brighter tomorrow to it that you just can't get any other way. So let's start by getting you in your narrative head right now. Do we have any Monty Python fans out there? If so, go ahead and sing along or whistle along.
Always look on the light side of life.
Be rotten, there's something you've forgotten. All right, that's my best, British singing voice. That's all I can do. But I am here to help you understand the applied science that leads to the bewitchery of story. The applied science is the frameworks that I teach. One you're going to learn today, and when you use it, you will be blown away by how you can bewitch your audience and get them leaning in, because what you're doing is appealing to their subconscious limbic emotional system. And that's where all communications needs to start. So I'm going to show it to you right now, and I've got 3 words in here I want you to pay particular attention to. And then I'll unpack it for you and demonstrate how it works. Association marketers communicate with prospects and hope to convert them into members. But connecting is hard because everyone is bombarded with messages. Therefore, tell a story to hack through the noise and hook the hearts of your audience. I want you to pay attention to that and, but, therefore, this very primal narrative framework of setup, problem, resolution that our storytelling monkey brains absolutely loves, can't resist it. So I mentioned I've been in this advertising, branding, marketing world darn near 4 decades. I know I'm aging myself here, but I ran my own agency in Phoenix Park & Co. for 20 years. And it was a traditional agency, kicked off in 1995. And I got to tell you, it was way easier in our worlds to communicate when all we had to worry about was TV, radio, print, outdoor, direct mail, public relations, events, and no Yelp. I mean, back then, our clients owned the influence of mass media. But I saw all of that change in 2004 dramatically when technology took over, leveled the playing field, and the masses had become the media. It's even more pronounced today. Masses own your story. They own my story. They are happy to share it with their world. And it has completely impacted how we communicate both internally, externally, and with each other, because we are absolutely bombarded with communication. Now, it's an exciting time to be alive because we have the technology that our brilliant neocortex has created for us that enables us all to be TV stations, radio stations, print production houses, 24/7 with global reach from the privacy of our own kitchen.